Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza is brought to you by Sport Relay. Honest, unbiased, and apolitical. Sport Relay, your connection to the diamond. And by A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs, Volumes 1 and 2 by Evan Thompson. Relive the glory, A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs. This week on Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza, one of the top closers in the game is on leave as he is being investigated for potential gambling violations. We take you through one of the most active trade deadlines we've seen in years. We give you some injury updates. We update the Drew Pomeranz Ticker. We take you through the July power rankings and reveal the winners of our July awards. We reveal the Week 17 power rankings. And we have a visit with our first ever player guest, then Athletics, now Padres closer Mason Miller. Don't go away. Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza begins now. Welcome to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. I'm your host, Evan Thompson, Editor-in-Chief, National Writer, and Athletics Writer at Sport Relay. I also wrote these two books. If you are interested in ordering a copy of either of them, there are links in the description box below this video. On the left here is the first book, A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs, Volume 1, which takes us through the pre-divisional tiebreakers all the way up through the 1976 ALCS and NLCS, both of which ended on a walk-off hit. Of course, the more famous of the two is the Chris Chambliss home run. That's Volume 1. Volume 2, right here, takes us from 1977 through 1984. Cubs and Padres fans, your teams are in those, because that's 1984. Tigers fans, definitely want to pick this one up, because that's 1984, the last time the Tigers won it all, and they're looking really good this year. But back to the show. We have made it into August. Yay! The All-Star game has come and gone. The trade deadline has passed. We have officially entered the dog days, and we are now in the stretch run. These division and wildcard races are shaping up. It should be exciting. Our Week 17 statistics include all games through the end of play on Wednesday, July 30th. And our July statistics, of course, include every game from the month of July. No more, no less. Time now to look at some of the biggest stories since the All-Star break from the world of relief pitching. The major story in relief pitching involves the Cleveland Guardians. According to a Bob Nightingale article that appeared in USA Today July 28th, this all started July 3rd when the league placed right-handed Guardians starting pitcher Luis Ortiz on paid leave after unusual gambling activity on two pitches that he threw far outside the strike zone in June this season. During this investigation, Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase, who was not under investigation at the time, had his name pop up. Consequently, Clase was put on non-disciplinary paid leave while the league investigates him for potentially gambling on games in which he performed. If he is found guilty of this, he's done. Banned for life. Black Sox, Pete Rose. Tucupita Marcano, Emmanuel Clase. Don't want to see that, but, if he did it, he, of course, must be punished for it. We, of course, we'll keep you abreast of the situation here on Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza as further details emerge. As the trade deadline approached on July 31st, relievers were flying off the board in bulk, with contending teams scrambling to solidify their relief units and make a playoff push. Here is a comprehensive breakdown of every trade deadline deal involving a relief pitcher. We begin on July 28th when the Detroit Tigers added right-hander Randy Dobnak along with right-handed starter Chris Paddock from the Minnesota Twins for 19-year-old switch-hitting A-ball catcher Enrique Jimenez, the Tigers' number 17 prospect at the time. Dobnak has made one relief appearance this season, and it was long relief. He's been with the AAA St. Paul Saints since April. Paddock was definitely the headliner of this trade, so if you didn't hear of Dobnak getting traded, don't feel bad. That's part of why this show exists, to make sure you hear of things like this that otherwise might have slipped through the cracks. On to July 29th, when the Toronto Blue Jays added right-handed middleman/setup man Sir Anthony Dominguez from the Baltimore Orioles in the break between two ends of a doubleheader between the Blue Jays and Orioles. All he did was walk up the hallway and switch jerseys, and he even pitched in the second game. It was only in baseball, right? Only in baseball. In return, the Orioles received Double-A right-handed starter Joran Watts Brown. Really hope I pronounced his first name correctly. Couldn't find anything on that. Who was a third-round draft pick from Oklahoma State University in 2023. Watts Brown was number 8 in the Blue Jays system at the time and was number 94 in the MLB Pipeline Top 100 at the time of the deal. Then on July 30th, the Philadelphia Phillies struck big by grabbing flamethrowing closer Joan Duran and his awesome entrance from the Twins, who were entering the first stages of full liquidation mode. Everything must go, except Byron Buxton. In return, the Twins received 2 MLB Pipeline Top 100 prospects. Catcher Eduardo Tate, who was number 56, and right-handed pitcher Mick Abel, who was number 92. I hope it's Abel and not a Bell. Again, couldn't find that either. Biggest part about this for the Phillies? Duran is not a rental. He is under team control until 2027. Also on the 30th, the Atlanta Braves, whose pen has been a disaster this season, picked up Colorado Rockies setup man Tyler Kinley for a Double-A right-handed reliever who can touch 100, Austin Smith, who went to the University of Arizona like I did. The Seattle Mariners picked up relief pitcher Caleb Ferguson from the Pittsburgh Pirates for Single-A right-handed pitcher Jeter Martinez, ranked 16th in the Mariners system at the time. 2 relief pitchers headed from the Washington Nationals to the Los Angeles Angels, veteran left-handed middleman Andrew Chafin and right-handed middleman Luis Garcia. In return, the Nationals received left-handed starter Jake Eder, the Angels' number 5 prospect at the time, and first baseman Sam Brown. A note on Eder: he started every minor league game he played in, but his 9 career major league appearances were all in relief. The big winners on July 30th were the New York Mets, who addressed their non-ninth inning relief woes in a big way. From the Cardinals, they acquired all-star closer Ryan Helsley for a trio of prospects: shortstop Jesus Baez, pitcher Nate Dome, and pitcher Frank Ellisalt. Then from the Giants, they picked up submarining right-handed setup man Tyler Rogers. That deal cost them right-handed middleman Jose Butto, center field prospect Drew Gilbert, and right-handed starting pitching prospect Blade Tidwell. Tidwell was the Mets' number 10 prospect, and Gilbert was their number 2 prospect. Tyler's twin brother Taylor also changed uniforms on the 30th, as the Cincinnati Reds sent the lefty setup man to the Pirates, along with their number 7 prospect, shortstop Sammy Stafura, for Gold Glove third baseman Ke'Bryan Hayes. Taylor did not stay in Pittsburgh for long, though, because on deadline day itself, July 31st, the Chicago Cubs traded for him, sending high A outfield prospect Ivan Brethrower to the Pirates in return. The Cubs also grabbed right-handed reliever Andrew Kittredge from the Orioles on deadline day for 17-year-old shortstop Wilfred De La Cruz, currently playing in the Dominican Summer League. That's a foreign league that is considered to be on the same level as a rookie league here in the States. As for the rest of deadline day, it was nuts. One of the biggest deals of the day saw the San Diego Padres land 2024 All-Star closer Mason Miller and left-handed starting pitcher J.P. Sears from the Athletics. In return, the Athletics received an elite prospect haul. Shortstop Leodales de Vries, the number 3 prospect in all of baseball, along with right-handed pitchers Braden Nett, Henry Baez, and Eduardo Nunez. The pitching trio ranked 3rd, 13th, and 17th among Padres prospects at the time, respectively. The Tigers were aggressive, acquiring not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 relievers. One was right-handed Cody Hoyer, who arrived from the Texas Rangers for cash considerations. The second was right-handed middleman Rafael Montero, for whom they dealt Double-A shortstop Jim Jarvis to the Atlanta Braves. Thirdly, veteran right-handed middleman Paul Sewald came over from the Cleveland Guardians for future considerations. You may recall that 2 years ago, the Arizona Diamondbacks dealt 3 players to the Seattle Mariners to get Sewald for their playoff push. And finally, in the biggest move for the Tigers, they snagged right-handed closer Kyle Finnegan from the Washington Nationals for right-handed starting pitchers Josh Randall and RJ Sales. Randall is in high A and Sales is in single A. The New York Yankees made a massive relief splash, acquiring 3 relievers in total, 1 setup man and 2 guys who were, at the time, closing for the team that traded them. The setup man was right-hander Jake Bird, who arrived from the Colorado Rockies for Double-A second baseman Rock Riggio and left-handed Double-A starting pitcher Ben Shields. They traded 3 players for right-handed Pirates closer David Bednar, Triple-A catcher Rafael Flores, Single-A catcher Edglin Perez, and Single-A center fielder Brian Sanchez. Flores and Perez were ranked 8th and 14th respectively in the Yankees system. And finally, right-handed closer Camilo Doval came from the San Francisco Giants for 4 players. Triple-A catcher Jesus Rodriguez, high A third baseman Parks Harbor, right-handed Double-A starting pitcher Tristan Vreeling, and left-handed starting pitcher Carlos De La Rosa, a 17-year-old currently in the rookie-level Dominican Summer League. The Texas Rangers, winners of the World Series 2 years ago, picked up right-handed setup man Phil Maton from the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals received left-handed high A starting pitcher Mason Molina, right-handed Triple-A reliever Skylar Hales, and $250,000 in international bonus pool space in return. And another big deal for the Rangers saw them pick up left-handed middleman Danny Coulombe, a mainstay on our AL middle reliever leaderboard, from the Twins fire sale for left-handed single-A pitcher Garrett Horn. We also saw a 3-team deal on deadline day. In this swap, the Tampa Bay Rays acquired catcher Hunter Fiducia from the Los Angeles Dodgers and right-handed Triple-A starting pitcher Brian Van Bell from the Reds. The Reds received right-handed starting pitcher Zach Littell from the Rays. The Dodgers received left-handed high A starting pitcher Adam Serwinowski from the Reds and 2 players from the Rays, right-handed middleman Paul Gervais and catcher Ben Rortvedt. 2 of those teams made other deals on deadline day as well. The Rays acquired right-handed setup man Griffin Jax from the Twins liquidation, sending right-handed starting pitcher Taj Bradley to the Twins. Bradley was Tampa Bay's number 2 prospect and was ranked 16th overall on MLB Pipeline's Top 100. Meanwhile, the Dodgers also shopped at Minnesota's "Everyone but Byron Buxton must go" sale. They sent the Twins center fielder James Outman in return for right-handed middleman Brock Stewart. The AL East leading Toronto Blue Jays also joined in the fun of the Minnesota garage sale. They added right-handed setup man Louis Varland and first baseman Ty France. In return, the Twins received left-handed pitcher Kendry Rojas and right fielder Alan Rodin. Rojas was Toronto's number 8 prospect, and Rodin was number 12. In another big move, the Seattle Mariners acquired, or reacquired actually, since they traded him there in the first place, third baseman Eugenio Suarez from the Diamondbacks for first baseman Tyler Locklear, right-handed high A reliever Hunter Cranton, and right-handed Triple-A setup man Juan Burgos. Next one isn't really a trade, but we'll mention it anyway. The Tigers sold left-handed reliever Dietrich Enns to the Orioles. Almost done. We can go through the rest of these trades quickly. The Milwaukee Brewers nabbed right-handed setup man Shelby Miller and left-handed starting pitcher Jordan Montgomery and his albatross contract from the Arizona Diamondbacks for future considerations, either player or players to be named later, or cash. Biggie here for Arizona is that it sheds the Montgomery contract from their books. The Kansas City Royals added left-handed starting pitcher Bailey Falter from the Pirates for left-handed middleman Evan Sisk and first baseman Callan Moss. The Houston Astros acquired left fielder Jesus Sanchez from the Miami Marlins. In return, the Marlins received right-handed reliever Ryan Gusto, shortstop Chase Jaworski, and outfielder Esmil Valencia. And finally, the Boston Red Sox landed left-handed reliever Steven Matz from the St. Louis Cardinals for third baseman Blaze Jordan. Each of these deals shapes the late inning picture for playoff contenders and reshapes relief units heading into August. And of course, we will keep you posted as to how it all plays out right here on the only weekly show dedicated to Major League relief pitching, Reliever Roundup, and Bullpen Bonanza. Now for some injury updates. Boston Red Sox setup man Justin Slayton, on the 60-day IL with shoulder inflammation since June 28th, threw his first bullpen session since the injury on August 2nd. He will throw another session in the coming days. The Red Sox expect him back sometime in September. Chicago White Sox back-ender Dan Altavilla hit the injured list on August 2nd with a right lat strain with no return date yet known. New York Yankees middleman Jonathan Loaizaga hit the injured list Sunday, retroactive to Saturday, with right mid-back stiffness. Those of us of a certain age can definitely sympathize. He is heading to New York for examination from the team physician. Left-handed San Francisco Giants middleman Eric Miller is making good progress toward an August return from a left elbow sprain he suffered in early July. He was scheduled to face hitters in a live batting practice session on August 2nd. Right-handed Houston Astros middleman Sean Dubin is on a rehab assignment with AAA Sugarland after recovering from a forearm strain that landed him on the injured list in late June. Lefty Los Angeles Dodgers closer Tanner Scott went on the 15-day IL July 22nd with left elbow inflammation and should be back sometime this month. According to Sonia Chen of MLB.com, he started a throwing progression less than a week after landing on the IL, but as of August 2nd, had not thrown off a mound yet. And finally, young Colorado Rockies closer Seth Halverson hit the IL Sunday with a right elbow strain. He had an MRI Sunday morning, which revealed a mild strain of the right flexor. There is a chance he could return this season, according to a tweet by Thomas Harding of MLB.com. We at Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza, as always, wish a full and speedy recovery to all these players and everyone else on the injured list. Now it is time once again for the Drew Pomeranz Ticker. His streak of not allowing an earned run in relief came to an end on Sunday, July 20th, when he allowed 3 runs in the 8th inning of a 6-1 loss to the Boston Red Sox at Wrigley Field. That was the first run he gave up in relief in a Major League game since July of 2021. It's insane. His scoreless relief streak ended at 32 appearances. That's just remarkable. And we must make a correction. Somehow, we have made mistakes on the date he last allowed an earned run on the road. Don't know how this happened, but it happened. Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza regrets and apologizes for the error. Number one thing on this show is accuracy, and we failed in that regard, so I'm truly sorry. We have erroneously stated that he is not allowed an earned run on the road in any role since September 25th, 2020 at Oracle Park in San Francisco during the second game of a doubleheader. The correct date for his last earned run allowed on the road is July 21st, 2021 at Atlanta, which is still remarkable. I mean, that's 4 years ago. His road scoreless streak is currently at 19 appearances, and we will, of course, keep tracking this impressive streak as long as it lasts. Up next, the July Team Power Rankings. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. It is time for the Team Relief Corps Power Rankings for July. They include every pitch thrown in relief by a player wearing team's said uniform, excluding position pitchers, during the month of July. This table shows the scoring breakdown. Teams are ranked in clutch, run prevention, base runner prevention, and command, weighted as shown. The final score determines the ranking. 0 means right at league average. Positive is better than average. Negative is below average. A score of 100 means the team is 100% better than league average. A score of 50 is 50% better, and so on. Each whole number is 1 percentage point. We will start with the number 30 team and work our way to number 1. AL teams will appear in red. NL teams will appear in blue. The first number in parentheses after the team name is their rank within their specific league, whether it be American League or National League. The number after the comma indicates the change in their major league rank between the June rankings and these July rankings. Here we go. Our first group is pray for a blowout win. At number 30, the Colorado Rockies, plummeting 11 spots with a negative 21.5. Number 29 is the New York Yankees, down 13 spots at negative 17.2. And number 28 is the Washington Nationals, also down 2 spots with negative 16.0. Next is the trio known as Stock Up on Tums. At number 27, the Tampa Bay Rays, free-falling 16 spots with negative 13.1. Number 26, the Cincinnati Reds, down 11 at negative 12.2. And number 25, the Detroit Tigers, crashing 21 spots with negative 11.2. Now you see why they made so many deals on deadline day. In lots of work to do, we have 3 teams. Number 24 is the Arizona Diamondbacks, the guys who are healthy at least, down 1 spot at negative 9.3. Number 23, the Atlanta Braves, nosediving 22 spots after scoring negative 7.6. And number 22, the Los Angeles Dodgers, down 9 with negative 7.3. Slightly below average has 4 teams. Number 21, the San Francisco Giants, down 4 at negative 5.2. Number 20, the Kansas City Royals, up 8 spots after scoring negative 4.8. Number 19, the Philadelphia Phillies, also up 8 spots at negative 3.0. And number 18, the Houston Astros, tumbling 15 spots with negative 2.3. We have 2 teams in the next group, the average. Number 17, the St. Louis Cardinals, up 5 spots at 2.6. And number 16, the Athletics, climbing 2 spots with 7.5. There are 4 teams in slightly above average, all from the American League. Number 15, the Chicago White Sox, soaring 10 spots with 11.5. Number 14, the Baltimore Orioles, down 8 at 12.4. Number 13, the Seattle Mariners, slipping 4 spots with 13.8. And number 12, the Texas Rangers, holding steady after scoring 15.9. NC means no change, if you're wondering. The Good also has 4 teams. Number 11, the Miami Marlins, up 3 spots at 19.1. Number 10, the Los Angeles Angels, down 3 with 20.3. Number 9, the Toronto Blue Jays, up 1 spot with 23.9. And number 8, the Chicago Cubs, down 3 with 28.1. The Very Good has 3 relief units. Number 7, the Minnesota Twins, rocketing up 23 spots with 36.2. Number 6, the Milwaukee Brewers, up 15 at 38.6. And number 5, the Cleveland Guardians, leaping 19 spots with 42.8. Side note, I don't have a crystal ball, but one of these teams traded away their entire back end. Another currently has their stud closer on leave until the 31st of this month, and he's being investigated for possible gambling violations, so we don't know if they're going to get him back at all. I'm going to go out on a limb and say one of these teams is on its way up, and the other 2 are about to fall off a cliff. Back to the July rankings. We only put 1 team in better take an early lead, the number 4 New York Mets, up 25 spots with 49.4. And with their deadline acquisitions, be afraid. Be very afraid. The Elite has 2 teams. The number 3 Boston Red Sox, up 17 spots at 65.9. And the number 2 San Diego Padres, up 6 with 72.3. The Padres had 3 relievers make the All-Star team, you may recall. First team to ever do that. And they just traded for Mason Miller. Be even more afraid of them than you are of the Mets. Be terrified. And finally, the outlier, the number 1 Pittsburgh Pirates, climbing 1 spot with a score of 81.1. Too bad they just got rid of almost their entire back end. The biggest gainers in this edition of the rankings are the Mets, who climbed 25 spots, the Twins, who climbed 23, the Guardians, who gained 19, the Red Sox, who climbed 17, and the Brewers, who gained 15 places. The biggest drops came from the Braves, who fell 22 spots, the Tigers, who plunged 21, the Rays down 16, the Astros, who dropped 15, and the Yankees, who slipped 13 spots. Before we end this segment, a look at July's scatter plot. That was a weird one, wasn't it? That brings us to the team award winners for July. You've already seen who they are, but here we'll go into more detail as to why they earned the score that they did. First, the AL Relief Corps of the Month, the Boston Red Sox. They had an AL Best 7.5 goose egg to broken egg ratio in July. Their scoreless outing percentage was an AL Best 81.1, their ERA minus was an AL Best 55, and their 25.8 inherited runner score percentage was 4th in the American League. Additionally, their WHIP, 1146, was 3rd in the American League. They weren't as strong in home run percentage and K- walk percentage as they were middle of the pack in both, but neither of those stats carries a very high weight in the overall score, as you probably remember. The shakiest American League Relief Corps of the Month was the New York Yankees. They had 1.8 goose eggs per broken egg, the second lowest ratio in the American League. The Rays had 1.3, and had an AL low 11 goose eggs. For context, the AL average goose egg to broken egg ratio this month was 2.9, so they were 1.1 below that. The Yankees' 59.6 scoreless percentage, yes, 59.6, was the lowest in the American League. The league average in the month was 70.9%, and second lowest in the majors behind the lowly Colorado Rockies, which was 51.3%. Additionally, their ERA minus of 142 was the highest in the American League. These two stats, scoreless percentage and ERA minus, are what made their overall score lower than the Tampa Bay Rays, who had the worst clutch score with the 1.3 goose egg per broken eggs and Major League high 12 broken eggs. Going back to the Yankees now. Their reliever whip of 1351 was middle of the pack in the American League, albeit higher than the AL average 1294, but their home run percentage of 4.7 was highest in the American League and 1.6 percentage points higher than the American League average. The American League's biggest plunge for July came from the Detroit Tigers, leaving little wonder as to why their front office traded for so many relievers. Putting June and July side by side, we can readily see the reasons for their nosedive. It also shows that their back-end's performance in the clutch is what carried them to their high June score, as their other stats showed signs of impending trouble. In June, they scored 33.0 points, second in the American League, fourth in Major League Baseball. 7.5 goose eggs per broken egg, which was an AL best. An AL low 2 broken eggs. But they had a 67.4 scoreless outing percentage, which was 14th in the American League. Recall there's 15 teams, so that was second to last. A 106 ERA minus, which was third worst in the American League. 12.26 WHIP, which was 5th in the American League. And an 11.9 K- walk percentage, which is 11th in the American League. Now July, they scored negative 11.2 points, which was 13th in the American League and 25th in the majors. They had a 2.0 goose egg per broken egg ratio and 14 goose eggs, both of which were 13th in the American League. They had 7 broken eggs, third highest in the American League. 66.7 scoreless outing percentage, which was 12th in the American League. A 137 ERA minus, second worst in the American League. An AL worst 1543 WHIP. That means in 2 innings, a team averages 3 base runners via hit or walk. Yikes. And 10.8 Ks minus walks percentage, 13th in the American League. The most improved AL relief unit for July is one that is bound to take another nosedive in August since they traded away all their key guys, the Minnesota Twins. They had a great May, a horrendous June, and a great July. Here's a side-by-side stat comparison for a deeper look. Now, before I go into this, we're saying they'll probably take a nosedive. We don't know for sure with the young guys that come up. They may be total studs. We don't know, but chances are good they're probably going to take another nosedive. Back to the comparison here. In June, they had a 2.0 goose egg per broken egg ratio and an AL low 10 goose eggs. They had a 70.2 scoreless percentage, which was 13th in the American League. A Major League Baseball worst 144 ERA minus, and an AL worst 17.31 whip. In July, they had a 5.0 goose egg per broken egg ratio and 25 goose eggs, both of which were second in the American League. That's great. Great back end. However, the rest of the stats are signs for concern because they had a 65.1 scoreless percentage, which was 14th in the American League, a 104 ERA minus, which was 11th in the American League, and a 14.24 whip, which was 13th in the American League. So we'll go through that again with the analysis. Their clutch stats were great, but their other stats were not. This means that their closer and setup men did really well, but the others struggled, except for, Danny Coulomb. That shows in the rankings, as their closer finished 6th in the American League in July, and their 2 setup men were 4th and 5th. Now you see why the rest of the league wanted their relief studs so badly. Moving on to the National League Relief Corps of the Month. For the second month in a row, it was the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Pirates had 24 goose eggs versus 3 broken eggs, a ratio of 8.0, best in the majors, and 5.1 better than the National League average of 2.9. They had a scoreless percentage of 73.4, 8th in the National League, but their ERA minus of 85 was 6th best in the National League. Their 11.86 whip and 2.8 home run percentage ranked 4th and 9th in the National League, respectively. And finally, their 16.7 K minus walk percentage ranked 5th in the National League. Now for the shakiest National League Relief Corps of the month, the Colorado Rockies. Their score of negative 21.5 was not only the lowest in the National League, but also the lowest in the majors. The biggest reason for that score was their 1.8 goose egg per broken egg ratio, tied for the second worst in the National League. Their 6 broken eggs were tied for the 5th most in the National League. They had the lowest scoreless percentage in the majors, 51.3%, well below the National League average of 72. Additionally, their 151 ERA minus, which makes adjustments for their home ballpark, was still the highest in the majors. That means that even after accounting for pitching at Denver's high elevation and in the large yard at Coors Field, their ERA was still 51 percentage points higher than the National League average. Their whip, 1795, was the highest in the majors and was 482 points higher than the National League average. Home run percentage was 5th at 3.1, National League average was 2.8, and finally, their K minus walk percentage was the lowest in the majors, 8.8. 5 full percentage points lower than the National League average of 13.8, and 9 full percentage points behind the National League leading St. Louis Cardinals. The National League's biggest plunge for July came from the Atlanta Braves, and this was really more of a case of them coming back to earth. Here's the side-by-side. In June, they had 40.7 points, which was first in the National League, but we didn't give them the NL Relief Corps of the Month because of the next stat. Their goose egg per broken egg ratio was 8.0. That's a big reason why their score was so high, but they only had 8 goose eggs versus 1 broken egg. That means they had 9 total goose eggs plus broken eggs. The next lowest team had like 19. We just couldn't give them that award for that reason. Their scoreless percentage was very good, 82.2, second in the National League. 81 ERA minus, tied for 4th. 11.61 whip, which was 5th. 2.3 home run percentage, which was 6th. And an 18.7 K minus walk percentage, which was 2nd. So all their peripheral stats were great. July, negative 7.6 points, which was 11th in the National League. 2.0 goose egg per broken egg ratio, 18 goose eggs versus 9 broken eggs, which was their total amount of goose eggs and broken eggs a month before. 10th in the National League. A 64.9 scoreless percentage, which was 14th in the National League, only the Rockies were lower. NL average was 72. A 140 ERA minus, 13th in the NL. 13.66 whip, 10th in the NL. NL average was 13.13. 3.7 home run percentage, which was 14th in the NL. Only the Cubs were higher with 6.6, which just had to be an anomaly. That's insanely high. And the National League average was 2.8%. 13.0 K minus walk percentage, 10th in the NL. NL average was 13.8. Now the NL's most improved relief corps of the month for July, the New York Mets, who were the shakiest NL relief corps in June. Talk about a bounce back. And remember, they made those trade acquisitions, so they should only get better. In June, negative 22.0 points, worse than the National League. 1.7 goose egg per broken egg ratio, along with 7 broken eggs. Yikes, both National League worst. 68.6 scoreless outing percentage, 12th in the National League. A 136 ERA minus, 14th in the National League. A 47.1 inherited runner scored percentage, 14th in the National League. That means that almost half of the runners a relief pitcher inherited crossed the plate. A 15.20 whip, worst in the National League. 2.2 home run percentage, tied for 4th. And a 13.2 K minus walk percentage, which was 8th in the National League. In July, 49.4 points, which was 3rd in the NL. A 5.8 goose egg per broken egg ratio, 23 goose eggs versus 4 broken eggs. That ratio was 3rd in the NL. The NL average was 2.9. This is concerning if you're a fan of either, good performances, or if you're a fan of the Mets. A 69.1 scoreless outing percentage, which is 13th in the NL. NL average is 72. 35.9 inherited runner scored percentage, 11th in the National League. NL average was 29.7. Now that's a low average because typically the league average is in the low 30s, so that's a little better than usual, although I know 29.7 rounds to 30. But still, 35.9, that's kind of high. 102 ERA minus, which is 10th in the NL. A 1360 whip, which is fine. 9th in the NL. NL average is 1313. 1360 isn't terrible. A 3.4 home run percentage, which is 12th in the National League. It may look like they are tied with the Rockies, but if you carry the decimal point out a little farther, the Rockies' home run percentage was a little bit better. Theirs was 3.4146%. The Mets was 3.4169. NL average, 2.8. K minus walk percentage, 13.9. 8th in the National League, when the league average was 13.8%. Up next, our individual leaderboards and awards for July. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. It is time for the individual awards for July. Statistics include every regular season game during the month of July to qualify for the rankings. Minimum of 7 relief appearances, and for the goose egg per broken egg plus statistics, which forms 2/3 of the clutch category we use to rate setup men and closers, there is a minimum of 4 goose eggs plus broken eggs. It's usually 5, but we dropped it by 1 due to the All-Star break. A link to our ranking methods is in the description box below this video. We will start by listing the middlemen and setup men from each league who finished in 2nd through 10th place, as well as the closers from each league who finished in 2nd through 5th. Then we will reveal our prestigious award winners. We'll start with the American League middle relievers. As you can see here, I'll read through them quickly because they're right on your screen. 10th was Brock Burke from the Angels with 30.4. 9th was Gabe Spire from the Mariners with 31.8. Number 8 was Andrew Kittredge, who was on the Orioles for July, but he's just been traded to the Cubs, so we won't see him in the American League leaderboards for the rest of the year. He had 33.3. Number 7, Corbin Martin from the Orioles with 34.0. It is really nice to see Corbin healthy again. I covered him when he was with the Diamondbacks. He's the nicest guy, and he just could not stay on the field because he kept having injuries. Now he's healthy, pitching with the Orioles. He ended up 7th among middlemen with 34.0, so that's great to see. Moving on, number 6, JT Brubaker from the Yankees with 34.9. Number 5, Brennan Bernardino from the Red Sox with 35.6. Number 4, Sean Armstrong from the Rangers with 37.8. Number 3, Elvis Alvarado from the Athletics with 39.4. And number 2 is Tyler Alexander from the White Sox with 51.1. Now for the National League middle relievers. Number 10, Luis Garcia from the Nationals with 26.1. Although since he's been traded to the Angels, he'll be on the American League leaderboards for the rest of the season, at least on the month-by-month. Number 9, Tyler Kinley from the Colorado Rockies, mostly. He's now on the Atlanta Braves, though, 27.3. Number 8, Ryan Walker from the Giants, 30.3. Number 7 is Tanner Banks from the Phillies with 30.4. Number 6, Grant Anderson from the Brewers with 31.3. Number 5, DL Hall from the Brewers with 33.7. That's a nice middleman 1-2 punch there. Number 4, Tyler Phillips from the Marlins with 34.0. Number 3, Caleb Thielbar from the Cubs, 56.1. And number 2, Jeremiah Estrada from the Padres with 61.1. Now the American League setup men. Number 10, Tyler Holton from the Tigers with 35.0. Number 9, Matt Brash from the Mariners with 52.0. Number 8, Brian King from the Astros with 55.9. Number 7, Lucas Erceg from the Royals, 69.9. Number 6, Hunter Gaddis from the Guardians, 101.0 was his score. Number 5 was Lewis Varland from the Twins, who has been traded to the Blue Jays. He had 104.6. Number 4 is Griffin Jax from the Twins, who was traded to the Rays. He scored 106.9 in July. Number 3, Sean Newcomb from the Athletics with 107.5. I spoke to him the day after he picked up 2 goose eggs in a game against the Astros. It was a great conversation. He's such a nice guy. Back to the board here. Number 2, Yariel Rodriguez from the Blue Jays, 110.8. And we'll reveal the number 1 in a little bit. Now the National League setup men. Number 10, Calvin Fauché from the Marlins with 59.5. Number 9, Ronnie Enriquez, also from the Marlins with 60.0. Number 8, Isaac Mattson from the Pirates, one of the guys who survived the trade deadline. He had 76.1. Number 7, All-Star Adrian Morejon from the Padres with 81.3. Number 6, another Padre All-Star reliever, Jason Adam with 84.0. Number 5, Abner Uribe from the Brewers, 88.0. Number 4, Pierce Johnson from the Braves with 97.6. He has a double presidential name where both of his names, his first and last, are the name of a president. Kind of cool, huh? Pierce Johnson. Anyway, back to the scores. Number 3, Reed Garrett, not to be confused with Leaf Garrett, from the Mets, 101.2. Number 2, Dennis Santana, another Pirate survivor of the trade deadline with 115.4. Methinks he will be the closer now since they traded David Bednar away. We'll see. Speaking of closers, here are the top 5 from the American League. Number 5, Aroldis Chapman with 61.5. Number 4, Emmanuel Clase of the Guardians with 65.3. Not to kick a dead horse, but in case you're just seeing this part, we might have seen him throw his last pitch of the season since he's on leave for a gambling probe. Number 3, Mason Miller from the Athletics. At least in July, he was from the Athletics, but he's been traded to the Padres, so he'll be NL for the rest of the months with 122.2. Number 2, Andres Munoz from the Mariners with 142.4. And finally, the National League closers. Number 5, Raisel Iglesias from the Braves with 77.1. Nice to see him have a good month because he has struggled all season. Number 4, Matt Strom from the Phillies with 111.5. Number 3, Robert Suarez from the Padres with 118.7. And number 2, Trevor McGill from the Brewers with 158.7. Now to the award winners. First is our American League Middle Reliever of the Month. He had a perfect scoreless outing percentage, did not allow any earned runs all month in 8 1/3 innings across his 7 appearances. He stranded all 3 inherited runners too. Additionally, he had a .240 whip and a 33.3 K- walk percentage, giving him 75.5 points as a middle reliever. You don't see that much, as you've seen if you watch the show all year. The American League Middle Reliever of the Month for July from the Tampa Bay Rays, Mason Englert. The National League Middle Reliever of the Month also had a perfect scoreless outing percentage, no earned runs in 12 1/3 innings across 11 games. He added a .486 whip and a 30.2 K- walk percentage, giving him 66.9 total points. From the San Francisco Giants, the National League Middle Reliever of the Month for July is Joey Lucchesi. Turning now to the American League Setup Man of the Month. He pitched in 9 1/3 innings across 10 games with a 90.0 scoreless outing percentage in July, only surrendering 1 earned run all month. He had a perfect 5 goose eggs versus 0 broken eggs. This pitcher also had a .536 whip and a 44.1 K- walk percentage, not walking any of the 34 batters he faced all month. With 138.8 points, the American League Setup Man of the Month for July from the Boston Red Sox, Garrett Whitlock. The National League Setup Man of the Month finished with 134.7 points in July. In 8 2/3 innings across 10 appearances, all of which were scoreless, he had 6 goose eggs, no broken eggs, a .692 whip, and an 18.8 K- walk percentage. Our National League Setup Man of the Month for July, from the Miami Marlins, Anthony Bender. To the American League Closer of the Month, who nabbed 161.0 points in July. In 11 1/3 innings across 11 appearances, he notched 7 goose eggs. Additionally, he did not give up any runs of any type all month, earned, unearned, or inherited, so that also meant that he didn't have any broken eggs. Additionally, he had look at this, 353 whip, didn't walk anybody, and had a 35.1 K- walk percentage. Our American League Closer of the Month from the Los Angeles Angels, the ageless wonder, Kenley Jansen. Our top National League closer in July also did not allow an earned run all month, also meaning that he had no broken eggs. Despite allowing 1 inherited runner to score, he did not have any mess either. Of his 10 appearances, 8 resulted in a goose egg. Additionally, in 11 innings, he had a .727 whip and a 32.6 K- walk percentage. This all combined to give him a score of 162.8. Our National League Closer of the Month for July, from the New York Mets, Edwin Diaz. Now for the most improved and the biggest plunges. The biggest plunge in the American League came from Tigers setup man Tommy Kahnle. In June, he had 5 goose eggs and 0 broken eggs. 9 of his 11 appearances were scoreless for an 81.8 scoreless outing percentage, and he allowed 3 earned runs in the month across 11 innings. 1 scoring on a solo home run by Dylan Carlson, and the rest on a 2-run homer by Carlos Correa. His whip was .818, and his K- walk percentage was 12.8%, giving him a June score of 109.7 despite a high home run percentage of 5.1. In July, he had 3 goose eggs and 3 broken eggs. 5 of his 11 appearances were scoreless for 45.5% as his scoreless outing percentage, well below the July American League average of 70.9. He allowed 16 earned runs across 7 1/3 innings. Of his 16 hits allowed, 10 went for extra bases, 5 doubles, a triple, and 4 homers. He also walked 7 batters, meaning that 23 of the 45 batters he faced reached base either by hit or by walk. This skyrocketed his whip to 31.36, and his K- walk percentage was negative 4.4%. These disastrous numbers all combined to make his July score negative 49.2, a drop of 158.9. The biggest plunge in the National League came from Los Angeles Dodgers closer Tanner Scott. He finished June as the NL Closer of the Month after scoring 106.3 points, the only National League closer to break 100. Scott had 8 goose eggs and 1 broken egg in June. Of his 13 appearances, 10 were scoreless, and 1 saw him only allow an unearned run. His percentage was 84.6. He allowed 2 earned runs across 13 1/3 innings, 1 on a 10th inning single, and the other on a C.J. Abrams solo home run. In both cases, the Dodgers ended up winning anyway. Additionally, Scott had a June whip of 900 and a 22.4 K- walk percentage. Not so in July. He made 7 appearances, only 3 of which were scoreless, and had a devil of a time getting guys out. 6 earned runs across 6 2/3 innings. 1 goose egg versus 2 broken eggs, a ratio of 0.5. 42.9 scoreless percentage. 1950 whip. 8.6 home run percentage. That's not a misprint. 3 home runs out of 35 batters faced. 8.6 K- walk percentage, the same number as his home run percentage, and you never want those 2 numbers to be the same. This all combined to give him a July score of negative 53.0, a drop of 158.9 points from June. There's more to the story, though. In fairness to Tanner and in fairness to Truth and Accuracy, like we mentioned earlier, we found out that he had an inflamed left elbow, which certainly contributed to his struggles. He went on the 15-day IL July 22nd and should be back sometime this month. The most improved reliever in the American League was a middle reliever in June. He had a scoreless percentage of 50.0, 4 scoreless appearances out of 8. This pitcher allowed 5 earned runs across 14 1/3 innings. His whip was fine, 13.26, and he had a slightly below average 9.8 K- walk percentage, but this all gave him a June score of negative 27.4. He became a setup man in July and blossomed. 4 goose eggs, 0 broken eggs, 3 earned runs all month in 12 1/3 innings across 11 appearances, 9 of which were scoreless for an 81.8 percentage. 2 of his earned runs came July 5th against the Giants after he hit a batter, then allowed 2 consecutive doubles. The 3rd earned run came in Texas July 22nd on a Marcus Semien home run. 8-11 whip, 34.8 K- walk percentage, 41.3 K percentage, 6.5 walk percentage. A total score for July of 107.5, an improvement of 134.9 from June, and his manager attributes this to using his fastball as a weapon. He started unleashing some absolute darts. Our most improved reliever in the American League for the month of July from the Athletics, Sean Newcomb. The most improved reliever in the National League had what is best described as a bounce-back month. This setup man spent much of April and May in the top 10, but he had a disastrous June. His June score of negative 17.4 came after 7 1/3 innings spread across 9 appearances. He had 3 goose eggs and 3 broken eggs. 66.7 scoreless percentage after 6 scoreless appearances. Of the 38 batters he faced, 15 reached base either by hit or walk. His whip was 20.45. His inherited runners score percentage was 80. 4 of the 5 runners he inherited ultimately scored. And the most incredible part of all this is it all happened without him allowing any home runs. But July went much better. 6 goose eggs versus 1 broken egg, a ratio of 6.0. 9 scoreless appearances out of 11 total appearances, 81.8%. He did allow 5 earned runs across an 11 1/3 innings, but cases like this one are why we have the scoreless outing percentage. Because 4 of those 5 runs came on 1 pitch, a grand slam by Joey Ortiz of the Brewers. The 5th run was a runner bequeathed to his team's closer. He had a 971 whip, a 15.9 K- walk percentage. This all combined to give him a July score of 101.2, an improvement of 118.6. Our most improved reliever in the National League for the month of July from the New York Mets, Reed Garrett. Coming up next, our special guest, Mason Miller. This next segment includes the first player guest in the history of Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza, all-star closer Mason Miller. We recorded this segment while I was in Houston with the Athletics to cover their 4-game series with the Astros, which the Athletics swept and utterly dominated. They never trailed, and there was only 1 inning that even ended with the score tied, and that's because on Saturday, the A's didn't score until the 2nd inning. But I digress. Mason was deeply honored to be the first guest we've ever had on this show from the player pool. While in Houston, Martin Gallegos and I spoke a lot since we were the only 2 writers there to cover the A's. Martin, who's a good friend of mine and also the first guest in the history of this show, you might recall, is the only full-time beat writer covering the A's. I do the best I can to cover them, but since I live in Metro Phoenix and have a limited travel budget, I am not with them often. Spring training, I was there every day, so I was full-time. But in the regular season, you can't really consider me a full-time beat writer. Again, I do the best I can. But I digress. Martin and I both were certain that the A's were not going to trade any pitchers. I even remember us speaking about this going into the 9th inning of the Nick Kurtz game. So imagine our shock when we heard that the A's sent both Miller and J.P. Sears to the Padres. While I was in Houston with the Athletics, I asked their 2 catchers, Shea Langeliers and Austin Wynns, what it is like to catch Miller. Here's what they had to say. This is from Austin Wynns. His stuff is electric, man. The sky's the limit for him. He has good preparation, knows what he wants to do. He has a low heartbeat. That's a good thing, especially since you want your closer to have a low heartbeat. You don't want any panic. It's fun to catch him, and everyone talks about how it's fun to watch him, too. Here's what Shea Langeliers said. Remember, he's the primary catcher for the A's, so he's caught him more. It's hard to put into words because he's one of a kind. There are not a lot of people that can do what he does. His fastball is 100 to 104, and he's got a wipeout slider. It's pretty fun. I also asked Astros first baseman Christian Walker, whom I know rather well from a player-reporter standpoint since I covered him for 5 years. I know that he loves a good challenge, so I went and asked him what it's like to hit Mason Miller. Here was his answer. Now, keep in mind, he had only faced him twice. You have to respect the velocity. He's a big body out there. He's got really good extension, and I know the ball gets on me quick, and he'll start you with a slider. A lot of power guys are kind of a one-trick pony, but it seems like he's got a few extra options in his bag, and that makes it tough on hitters. Those at-bats are very much high intensity, empty the tank. You're trying to match his energy. His ability to throw it by you, but also locate when he wants to, makes it a fun at-bat. It's fun to compete against guys like that. Before we go in here, just a perspective thing, you'll see how tall Mason really is. I'm right at 6 feet tall, and he towers over me. Without further ado, our special guest, then of the Athletics, now of the San Diego Padres, closer Mason Miller. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. I have with me the closer for the Athletics, Mason Miller, the very first player we've had on the show. Mason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
First question for you. You came up as a starter, and then you switched to relief. How did that come about? Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was mostly health related. I made 4 starts in 23, and then was on the shelf for about 3 months with a UCL issue. Thankfully avoided surgery, came back and pitched a little bit out of the bullpen, more length. But coming into 24, they wanted me to look at the bullpen. Just my innings weren't high from the year before, so I was never going to be able to carry a starter workload in the big leagues. So made the move to the bullpen. It kind of happened seamlessly, and the rest just kind of wrote itself since then.
What do you like especially about closing versus any other pitching role?
I've enjoyed it. It's just every time you're pitching, usually the game is on the line. So it's kind of like you start a game, you'll have an inning or two that will kind of feel a little bit more high pressure, and then hopefully you kind of cruise through the other couple innings. But closing is just that moment, the adrenaline, and it's a unique opportunity because the guys have to get you in a position to win a game. So just kind of hammer that home is really rewarding when you're able to get the job done.
Can you tell us what it feels like when you're coming in to close in a safe situation and you hear your name announced over the stadium PA and you hear the crowd explode?
Yeah,
how does that feel?
It feels good. I've kind of block everything out. It's kind of like you get in your zone, and whether it's 5,000 people or 35,000 people, you feel the energy in the building, but as big leaguers, you don't really need that energy to feel the magnitude of the moments. And coming into the game and save, I'd say there's no bigger moment.
Okay, and then last question for you. When you come in a game and the team's behind and you're going in to basically make sure they're still within striking distance versus coming in to close while the team's ahead and you're trying to slam the door, is there any difference in how it feels?
Yeah, I think it feels different for sure, but it's almost a learning experience kind of when you get so used to that feeling and that role and taking that lead and being tough with every single pitch that you throw. And then kind of coming into the game, tie games is very similar to a save, but being down a couple of runs. It's easy sometimes to let one pitch maybe feel like it matters a little bit less. And I've gotten burned on that, but that's kind of like that learning experience that you have to know that each time you get in the game, that each pitch matters just a little bit more than the last, and just kind of hone that in and keep that mental locked in, like that mental state, regardless of the situation.
Thank you for coming by. It was a pleasure. Hope to have you on again sometime.
Appreciate it, man.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. Before we get to the Team Relief Corps power rankings for Week 17, we will show you the scatter plot for Week 16, which included all games through the end of play on Wednesday, July 23rd. Now here are the groupings for the team rankings for Week 16. I won't read through them. I'll just put them on the screen to let you read them. I tried to get an episode ready in time for Week 16, but it simply didn't happen. I'm only one person. My body was simply worn out. I had just come back from being in Texas for a week. I couldn't do it, and it didn't help that my favorite player of all time, Ryne Sandberg, died Monday. I was in a lot of grief, and I had to stop working on this. And then later I wrote an article on what Ryne Sandberg meant to me, who grew up a young baseball fan and is now a writer and host of a show. You can take a look at that on Sport Relay. I digress, though. Back to the Week 17 power rankings. They include every pitch thrown in relief by a player wearing this team's said uniform, excluding position pitchers. This table shows the scoring breakdown. Teams are ranked in clutch, run prevention, base runner prevention, and command, weighted as shown. The final score determines the ranking. 0 means right at league average. Positive is better than average. Negative is below average. Score of 100 means the team is 100% better than league average. Score of 50 is 50% better, and so on. Every whole number counts as a percentage point. Statistics run through the end of play on Wednesday, July 30th. We will start with the number 30 team and work our way to number 1. AL teams will appear in red. NL teams will appear in blue. First number in parentheses after the team name is their rank within their specific league. The number after the comma indicates the change in their major league rank since our last episode. Here we go. Actually, it's since Week 16, but here we go. Pray for a blowout win. If you're pulling for the number 30 Washington Nationals, last in the majors yet again with negative 12.7. And keep in mind, this is before trading away their top performers. Stock up on Tums if you're a fan of any of these next 4 teams. Number 29 is the Atlanta Braves, down 1 spot at negative 9.7. Number 28, the Chicago White Sox, also down 1 with negative 8.7. Number 27, the Arizona Diamondbacks MASH unit, up 2 spots with negative 7.3. And number 26 is the Colorado Rockies, slipping 1 spot with negative 6.9. These next 3 relief units have lots of work to do. Number 25, the Tampa Bay Rays, down 1 spot with negative 4.5. Number 24, the Los Angeles Angels, climbing 2 spots with negative 2.6. And the number 23 Detroit Tigers unchanged in rank after scoring negative 0.3. Not surprisingly, each of these teams made deadline day moves. These next 6 pens are slightly below average. Number 22 Cincinnati Reds, down 2 spots with 2.8. The number 21 New York Yankees, tumbling 4 spots after scoring 3.3. Number 20 Milwaukee Brewers, down 2 after scoring 3.5. Number 19, Baltimore Orioles, up 2 spots after notching 3.9. The number 18, Philadelphia Phillies, down 2 spots with 4.7. And the number 17, St. Louis Cardinals, leaping 5 spots with 4.9. These next 4 units make up the average. Number 16 is the Athletics, up 3 spots after scoring 7.5. Number 15, Los Angeles Dodgers, up 1 spot with 7.7. Number 14, the Texas Rangers, unchanged in rank after scoring 8.1. And number 13 is the Kansas City Royals, holding steady with 9.5. These next 2 relief corps are slightly above average, though they are probably about to move in 2 distinctly different directions now that deadline day has passed. Number 12, the Minnesota Twins, down 1 spot with 13.9. And number 11 is the Toronto Blue Jays, also down 1 with 15.1. These next 2 teams make up a pairing we call the good. Number 10 is the Houston Astros, down 2 spots with 19.9. And number 9 is the Pittsburgh Pirates, up 3 spots with 21.2. However, the Pirates traded half of their back end away, so this could also change quickly. These next 3 relief units are very good. Number 8 is the Seattle Mariners, up 1 spot at 22.6. Number 7, the San Francisco Giants, down 3 spots with 23.5. And number 6 is the Chicago Cubs, unchanged in rank at 24.3. You'd better take an early lead against these next 3 teams, because if they're holding the lead entering the 7th, you're probably not coming back. Number 5 is the Boston Red Sox, up 2 spots with 25.6. Number 4 is the Miami Marlins, down 1 spot with 25.8. And number 3 is the New York Mets, up 2 spots with 27.7. And our top 2 relief units make up the elite. Number 2 is the Cleveland Guardians, also top in the American League, down 1 spot after scoring 31.1. But again, we don't know when they're getting Clase back, if at all, due to his being placed on leave for the gambling probe. And number 1 is the San Diego Padres, up 1 spot after scoring 36.5. And that's before picking up Mason Miller. The biggest gainers in this edition of the rankings are the Cardinals, who climbed 5 spots before dumping everyone with trade value. The Athletics and Pirates, who each climbed 3 spots. And the Diamondbacks, Orioles, Red Sox, Angels, and Mets, who each gained 2. The biggest drops came from the Yankees, who fell 4 spots, the Giants and Phillies, who each fell 3, and the Reds, Astros, and Brewers, who each fell 2. Before we end this segment, a look at this week's scatter plot. Coming up next, the Week 17 individual power rankings. Don't close the video yet. Welcome back to Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza. It is time for the individual power rankings. Statistics include every regular season game through the end of play on Wednesday, July 30th. To qualify for the rankings, there is a minimum of 22 relief appearances, and for the Goose Egg Broken Egg Plus stat, which forms the bulk of the clutch category for the closers and setup men, there is a minimum of 11 Goose Eggs plus Broken Eggs. A link to our ranking methods is in the description box below this video. We begin with the American League middle relievers. Number 10, from the Detroit Tigers, Chase Lee, with 11.5. Number 9, with 12.0, from the Boston Red Sox, Justin Wilson. Number 8, with 13.9, from the Minnesota Twins, Brock Stewart, although he was traded to the Dodgers. Number 7, from the Texas Rangers, with 15.9, Shawn Armstrong. Number 6, with 20.8, from the Houston Astros, Bennett Sousa. Number 5, with 23.8 over his combined season with the Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays, Brian Baker. His combined scores were easy because he didn't change leagues, but I digress. Number 4, with 26.2, from the Houston Astros, Stephen Okert. Number 3, Gabe Spire of the Seattle Mariners with 28.1. Number 2, from the Toronto Blue Jays with 36.5, Braden Fisher, who was dethroned in Week 16. And number 1, for the second straight week, and for he was number 1 a lot this year before Braden Fisher took it over. From the Minnesota Twins, but now of the Texas Rangers, with 37.4, Danny Coulombe. Now for the National League middle relievers. Number 10, Tanner Banks of the Phillies with 9.8. Number 9 is from the Marlins with 10.1, Lake Picard. Number 8 was on the Chicago Cubs, but he got released August 1st. But he scored 10.3, which is number 8 in the National League middle reliever rankings, Ryan Presley. Number 7, Ryan Walker of the Giants with 11.1. Number 6, from the Milwaukee Brewers with 13.3, Grant Anderson. Number 5, with 21.0, from the Los Angeles Dodgers, Jack Dreyer. Number 4, with 25.3, from the Milwaukee Brewers, Nick Mears. Number 3, with 27.9, from the Padres, Jeremiah Estrada. Number 2 and number 1 are both from the Cubs. With 29.5, Caleb Thielbar. And with 31.8, for the 7th week in a row at number 1, Drew Pomeranz. Now for the American League setup men. Number 10, from the Twins but traded to the Blue Jays with 69.3, Lewis Varland. Number 9, from the Guardians, 80.7 is his score, Hunter Gaddis. Number 8 is from the Toronto Blue Jays. He has 86.8, Yariel Rodriguez. Number 7, from the Minnesota Twins until the trade deadline when he was sent to the Tampa Bay Rays with 90.1, Griffin Jax. Number 6, from the Guardians with 94.3, Cade Smith. At number 5, from the Blue Jays with 95.3, Brendan Little. Number 4, with 96.7, from the Red Sox, Garrett Whitlock. Number 3, from the Royals with 112.5, Lucas Erceg. Number 2, from the Mariners with 113.6, Matt Brash. And number 1 for the second straight week with 122.7, from the Houston Astros, Brian Abreu. Now for the National League setup men. Number 10, from the Cubs, Brad Keller with 62.9. Number 9 is from the Mets with 79.8, Reed Garrett. Number 8, with 81.5, an all-star from the Padres, Adrian Morejon. Number 7 is the Submariner, Tyler Rogers, who was on the Giants but is now on the Mets with 93.8. Number 6, with 101.9, the first of 2 consecutive Marlins, Calvin Fauché. And number 5, his teammate, Anthony Bender, with 105.5. Number 4, from the Cardinals but traded to the Rangers, with 108.1, Phil Maton. Number 3, another all-star from the Padres, with 113.7, Jason Adam. At number 2, from the San Francisco Giants, with 133.4, Randy Rodriguez. And number 1, with a gap between his score and the next guy on the list of 63.4. His score is 196.8. Absolutely insane. From the Pirates, and he's still on the Pirates, Dennis Santana. Now for the top 5 American League closers. Number 5, from the Angels with 112.1, Kenley Jansen. Number 4, Aroldis Chapman of the Red Sox with 136.2. Number 3, he's still listed as a closer, so we have him here. From the Detroit Tigers, Will Vest with 138.8. Number 2 with 182.8. From the Houston Astros, Josh Hader, whom I did not see pitch at all in Houston because they were never ahead at the end of the game. And number 1 from the Seattle Mariners with 206.5. 23.7 points higher than his runner-up. From the Seattle Mariners, Andres Munoz. And finally, the National League closers. At number 5, from the Los Angeles Dodgers with 89.2, Alex Vesia. He's still listed as a closer. They have him as a co-closer, last I saw. Number 4, the just injured Seth Halverson of the Colorado Rockies with 103.1. Hopefully we see him back this year. If not, we hope he recovers in full and can be back out there next year throwing bullets. Number 3, from the Milwaukee Brewers with 116.1, Trevor McGill. Number 2, from the Padres with 210.5, Robert Suarez. And number 1 with an otherworldly 298.3, 87.8 points higher than Suarez. From the New York Mets, Edwin Diaz. That concludes this installment of Reliever Roundup and Bullpen Bonanza from Sport Relay. Join us next time when we will go through Week 18, the first week with a new team for the guys who were traded. I'm Evan Thompson. Thanks for watching, and we will see you then. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Click subscribe so you'll never miss an episode of this show or of our other show, Trade Trees. Tell your friends and baseball contacts. If you haven't done so yet, consider buying my books, A Complete History of the Major League Baseball Playoffs, Volume 1 and Volume 2. There are links in the description box below this video. And finally, bookmark and regularly visit sportrelay.com. Until next time, this is Evan Thompson saying so long for now.